There is no one that the online gaming community likes to dunk on more than a games journalist. There's so many memes about journalism difficulty when you play games. Games now implement story-related difficulty, and we all know who that's for. And there's one piñata that the community likes to punch more than any other, and that is IGN. And not for no reason as well. They've done some goofs in the past. They've given a 7.8 out of 10 to Pokemon Omega Ruby, with one of the negative points that they really focused on was that there was too much water. And they gave Alien Isolation a 5.9 out of 10 because the alien is too smart and the reviewer kept dying. But it's okay, I also suck at video games, but IGN has been forced to actually respond to this now. More specifically, why they keep giving 7s. Why don't they rate things lower? Why don't they really go in with the reviews? Why do they rate bad things so highly? They're laying it all on the table today. I want to see what they're saying.
Why is it that the big name stuff rarely seems to score below a 7?
A satisfying RPG to plunder your way through.
There are a few reasons for this, and none of them have anything to do with a reluctance to give low scores when we think they're worth.
What did they give
Just
Cyberpunk?
doesn't work here.
The reality
Oh,
is
wait, they give Cyberpunk a 4? I don't remember that. I don't remember them giving Cyberpunk a 4. That actually gives them a little bit more credence, right? And to play devil's advocate, this is what I think they're gonna say. I think they're gonna say a lot of big releases that have a lot of money behind them are usually pretty well designed because they have a lot of people working on them and there's a lot of money that goes into it. So they're not gonna be that disgustingly bad. It'll be mid at best. But the problem is that if something is mid, it's not a 7. It's not good. Something that is a 7 is something that is worth your money and worth to play. And not every 7 that they give out is worth that. In fact, most of them aren't. Most of them aren't even worth it.
Far too many things coming out every day to review them all. Most are underwhelming or clearly bad, and go completely unnoticed by the vast majority of people.
It's the fundamentally flawed choices behind that mediocrity that take Balan Wonderworld.
See, now they're showing the things that
bland
they didn't like.
outright bad.
Some are
Okay, so they're trying to say, oh no, see, we do give bad reviews. We actually do give bad reviews sometimes. Look, Balan Wonderworld. I think what they're trying to say here is, oh, there's a lot of stuff that comes out. We can only focus on the big names because we need to get clicky clicks, which as a YouTuber, I fully understand the need for clickbait. That's all right. I don't think you can use that as a defense as to why you give everything like a pretty high rate. A lot of people think that IGN gets like paid off and stuff that deserves lower rankings actually gets higher rankings, usually.
The story missions are exciting more often than not.
and just a few are heavily marketed, highly anticipated events.
It delivers an enriching show for fans of the PlayStation hit, while also managing to stay welcomely thrilling to newcomers.
The rarest of
Okay,
all are
deserved. The Last of Us show is absolutely fantastic. Well deserved.
gems that come out of nowhere and are all but impossible to predict.
Apex Legends makes squad-based battle royale work better than thought possible, even when playing with a randomly matched team.
Given that IGN
Now they're just showing games that are just good.
so many reviews at once, and we generally review around 1,000 things per year across all categories, we have to pick and choose which to review and which to let sail by. When it's not obvious that something is a big deal, like a Grand Theft Auto or an Avengers movie or a Game of Thrones,
Highly anticipated series here at the IGN offices.
we use metrics like traffic on IGN for news, trailers, and previews to see what the wider audience is interested in.
Oh, so they do reviews on things that gets a lot of views? I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? Maybe they're gonna get into it later, but they haven't explained why they give pretty bad things decent reviews, where things don't seem to dip lower than like 7s, when they've shown individual examples, but individual examples don't really necessitate like the overall arching, the review standard that they have. It's more so you're pointing out outliers,
like
where you're
YouTube.
more likely to give lower
reviews.
reviews.
For a new movie, it's a safe bet they'll be interested to know more.
As a whole, it's still a wildly good time that fans of the games in particular are sure to enjoy.
But something that gets a lot of views, are they saying that because something gets a lot of views, they have to give it a higher rating?
1,000 check it out on YouTube? Maybe it's just not clicking with the IGN audience, and a review would suffer the same fate.
That's all you really need to know.
When most people aren't interested, but we are, we often take a chance on something we think is special and should be highlighted. That's when you'll see smaller things make it onto a review list.
Wow, they give Pentiment a 10. I played this a game as essentially like an old medieval tapestry as a game, and it's like a murder mystery type thing. It's not a 10, but it is really good. I'd say like it deserves maybe like 7.5 and 8 because it's genuinely fun to play, but it does drag a lot. I would not give this a 10.
Hardly recommend it highly enough.
Importantly, this doesn't necessarily mean that if we don't review something, we didn't think anybody cared or assumed that it isn't good. Oftentimes, it's just an issue of timing, where we have too many irons in the fire.
Did they just show Booba?
And by the time we'd
Am I
be
allowed
able
to
to circle
throw that?
back and review it, the question of whether it was good or not would have been long since settled. In those cases, we generally have to wait for another opportunity to come around, such as a port to another platform that opens a game up to a new audience or a streaming date.
Makes it a truly
Why are they making this video? I don't understand. Like, they've been criticized for a long time about their review scores. This is not gonna assuage anyone's opinions. This is not gonna tilt anyone. I don't understand what they're trying to say here.
So why is it that the big name stuff rarely seems to score below a 7, which means
Okay,
good
go
on
ahead.
IGN's
Tell
review
me.
scale?
It's ultimately more of a striking modern mimic than a scary new mutation.
Simply put, if something doesn't at least look like it might be great, people didn't click on it or Google it, and we probably didn't review it as a result.
What? If something didn't look like it would be great, people wouldn't click on it. That's wrong, man. People hate watch stuff all the time, especially trailers, because there's no investment in a trailer. You can just click on a trailer. And if something like blows up because it looks really bad, which happens all the time, then IGN's gonna see that. I bet that IGN would love to review things that gets hate watched and things that people think is terrible all the time as well. The problem is they give things that are maybe hate watched by some people and generally not that great of a game a higher score, and it sounds like they're just trying to justify it by saying, oh yeah, a lot of people watch this, therefore it must be good, therefore we're gonna give it a little bit of a higher score, right? We're gonna bump it up a little.
Great enough to pique your interest, it usually ends up being at least okay.
combat is flash
Okay, they give Forspoken a 6. I think it probably might deserve a little bit lower than that.
to entertain.
And especially in the case of a big budget game, publishers have to be feeling pretty confident about them being reasonably well received for them to make it to the point of being released at all. Maybe the publisher has even hired some freelance writers to do mock reviews under non-disclosure agreements to see how it might score on release, and many of them came back with 5s or lower. Most of the time, a publisher is going to cancel that.
No, I don't know if a publisher would cancel a game. It depends how far it is in development. But a publisher's not going to get like right close to the development. The game is mostly done, and someone comes back and says, well, I did a mock review of this and I don't like it. And the publisher's like, all right, well, just throw it out the window. Just cancel the whole thing. Now they're trying to say that games that released are probably going to be good because they've been released.
That game and pivot to a more promising project. When that happens, it never sees the light of day.
I understand that Ubisoft canceled a lot of games recently, but I'm saying if a game is like very close to release, at least to the point where they're releasing trailers, they're not gonna just like turn around and cancel it because someone got mad at a trailer, right?
Much less gets reviewed. And games are canceled like this all the time, before we even know they exist. Of course, some very
before you know they exist, right?
productions
Exactly.
do still come out for whatever reason. And when they do,
But that doesn't explain that why, before you know a game exists, it's very bare bones, and there's so much that can be changed and modified. So if a game gets cancelled before you know it exists, there wasn't that much there to begin with anyway.
we have no issues giving a 5 to a highly marketed game like Gotham Knights or a big name movie like Black Adam. But it's
okay. You shouldn't be trying to use that as like, come on guys, we'll say that some stuff is bad sometimes. That's just the default. You shouldn't even have to say that you don't have an issue giving a lower score to Gotham Knights or Black Adam, because that's just something that you should expect from journalists anyway. The fact that we've gotten to the point where we don't even think that that's possible, you have to explain yourself in that way, that means you know your reputation is shot.
It's rare that so much time and money is spent on creating something that falls so short of being at least okay, if not good, great, or even...
Damn, they give Death Stranding a 6.8. That's funny.
And that's why the great majority of our reviews end up on the top half of the scale. When it comes to the big events, they're usually safe bets, and in most cases, the question isn't if they'll be good, but how good they'll be.
I think the thing that people are most angry about when it comes to IGN is the fact that they'll give review scores that are higher than people think that they deserve. So a 5 should be an average game that you can get a little bit of fun out of, but generally won't be breaking any records. When it comes to the IGN games or the IGN reviews of those games, that is a general consensus is like it's average and it's fine. Those reviews are like 7s and 8s. And the reviews of like genuinely bad games, like for example, I assume that Forspoken is a genuinely bad game that really isn't worth your time or money. That's still getting a 6 out of 10, which is on the upper end of the scale.
Thief's End, indeed.
And really, if we have to choose, we'd much rather be telling you about something that you should experience rather than something we think you shouldn't.
You should not play this game, and I wish that I hadn't.
That's just more fun for everybody.
A painfully thin sense of progression, lackluster combat.
He was a one-dimensional whack-a-mole title with some clever ideas that never really come together.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to stick around.
That was it, dude. I don't think that's gonna change anyone's opinions. I have to see. IGN review on IGN reviews is a 7 out of 10. I'm surprised that IGN doesn't do duo reviews, having 2 different perspectives from 2 reviewers. I know why they don't do that, because it would cost them more money. If most of your score revolves around 7s, why include scoring all? Because people need a number to click on. That people are dumb-brained, and they have small brains, and they need a number to click on. If a review doesn't have a number at the end of it, well, I don't know what it means. I don't know. I can't formulate nuanced opinions on things. It's really hard for me. You gotta have numbers somewhere. This video is a 7 out of 10. We made them explain themselves. The explanation doesn't really make that much sense. Their explanation essentially boiled down to, oh, well, if we're going to review something, we need to review something that gets a lot of clicks. And if it gets a lot of clicks, then it's probably going to be good because it got released in the first place. And I don't think that really makes much sense because you're reviewing the stuff that gets released, but the stuff that gets released is on the scale of 1 to 10, with 5 being the average. If something is always a 7 and 7 becomes the average, people are only going to think that something is worth your time if it's an 8 or a 9 or a 10. 7 should be something that's good, and it's always worked like that in my head. And this IGN explanation is a little silly. There's a whole lot of words for not much. I don't understand why they even made this video in the first place, to be honest. Anyway, IGN will continue to get dunked on, even though I want to play devil's advocate. I want to be a little bit more charitable towards them because reviewing games can be difficult sometimes, and it's a lot of different people working at the same company reviewing something. So when IGN gives a score, it's really just one reviewer giving a score that works there. It's not the entirety of the entire organization saying this is this quality, which may contradict with an opinion that was given in another IGN review. That's getting into the nitty gritty of it. I think that IGN reviews will continue to get dunked on, and this is not going to change anyone's minds.